Hello, just to let you know, I recorded this while walking home from work, which is something I'm still experimenting with, but it does mean that you will hear the occasional car going by or the occasional gust of wind. Hopefully that's not off-putting. Enjoy the video. Hello and welcome back to Baseless Speculation, a show I've never made before, so I'm not sure why I'm welcoming you back. Today we are going to be talking Doctor Who, we are going to be talking David Tennant and the 60th anniversary, and my theory on how he could be returning. This is a theory that's very much based in hearsay, on rumour, but it's also a theory that I have a gut feeling about, based on kind of what Russell T Davies has done in the past and what he might be going for this time. I want to start by pointing to the rumour that was abound before Ncuti Gatwa got cast as the 14th Doctor, and it was about David Tennant returning and being the 14th Doctor, right? And while that quite obviously comes across as a fan theory that doesn't really make much sense, it is also one that kind of hooked me. I was like, that would be stupid and absurd, and I would be totally down for it. Of course, when they announced Ncuti Gatwa as the 14th Doctor, I was very excited. I was like, that's more like it, that's more realistic. That's more what we probably want to go for. Very much looking forward to see what he does with the role. But then a few days later, the internet was collectively shooketh when they announced that David Tennant would indeed be returning for the 60th anniversary, alongside Catherine Tate, no less, presumably as Donna Noble. I'm guessing they've written that somewhere, but if they haven't, then I don't know, that's open to interpretation, because this is a weird universe where Billie Piper can come back and not be playing Rose Tyler in the 50th. But that's just an aside from my stupid attention span that likes to think about completely different things to the topic at hand. That's not actually part of my theory. It's also been announced that Yasmin Finney will be joining the episode, I guess, or the special or whatever it's going to be, as Rose, and you know, they've made a whole fuss about how can there be another Rose, and I think it's fairly easy to estimate that this is probably someone's kid, either Donna's and her husband's, whose name I've forgotten, or other people are saying maybe Martha and Mickey's. Very excited to see her in the show, by the way. She was fantastic in Heartstopper. I'm not entirely sure how she and Donna fit into the story. To be perfectly honest, that's not really part of my main prediction, but we can do more baseless speculation about that later. I just wanted to do a quick recap of all the news we know so far before diving into things. Oh, good lord, I either walked into a spiderweb or a fly just flew directly into my uvula. That was disgusting. Okay, enough batting around the bush. My speculation is that Jodie Whittaker regenerates into David Tennant. You might think this theory was disproven when they announced Ncuti Gatwa as the 14th Doctor, but stick with me. David Tennant's Doctor is one of the most tragic Doctors in all of Doctor Who, in my opinion, and one of the saddest parts about him is the way he died, right? The way he regenerated. He was scared, he didn't want to go, he wasn't ready, and that always felt like, I don't know, a little bit of something that was not left unresolved, but something that, if given the chance, could be the centerpiece of a character that's regenerated back into David Tennant. Now, assumedly this incarnation of a Doctor wouldn't just be wearing David Tennant's face, it would be that Doctor again. Like, maybe his first words could be like, "Oh, I'm back?" Like, really confused. Before I go too far with the narrative side of this, I do want to talk more about the production side of why this could be the case. Because when you think about it, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe Jodie Whittaker's mentioned that she's already filmed her last scenes, right? This was many, many months before Ncuti Gatwa got announced as the Doctor. And while it's entirely possible that Ncuti Gatwa could have, you know, already filmed his first scene as the Doctor, that would be a secret they would have had to keep for months and months. And I'm not sure why they wouldn't have announced it sooner in that case. My main point with the whole production thing is that this rumour about Jodie Whittaker regenerating into David Tennant has been around for a few months, and Ncuti Gatwa becoming the 14th Doctor was never rumoured at all. And while rumours are just rumours, I think that, you know, if it was a truth that Jodie Whittaker regenerates into David Tennant, then maybe that came from somewhere, and that's why it's been around for so much longer. Anyway, it's a stretch, but I thought I'd throw it out there. Now, let me explain to you why I think this would make sense as an episode, and not as just, like, a major piece of fan service, which it obviously is as well. First of all, I should mention that one piece of evidence for this potentially being the case as well is the curator's line back in Day of the Doctor that he may find himself revisiting a few of his favourite faces over the years. I always took that to mean he might have more crossover episodes, but thinking about it now, it does sound like he meant in terms of regenerations bringing back older actors. And who knows why they threw that line in there. It could just be a case of trying to open up possibilities. I personally like to think it could be a way of them trying to open the way for Christopher Eccleston to return to the role if he so desired, which he probably didn't. That's not based on anything I've heard, by the way. I'm completely making that up. I just like the idea. I can also very much picture Christopher Eccleston being like, no thank you, that definitely wouldn't make sense for the show, and I don't want to do it that way. Anyway, why I think this would be good for a one-episode story where David Tennant is the interim Doctor between Jodie and Ncuti is because it could, like, not just hail Russell T Davies' return to the series, but it could tie up those threads of the Doctor feeling scared, vulnerable and alone, and tragically wrought with grief about his own death. It would primarily be used to signpost the fact that while we are returning to a Russell T Davies-led show, we are not returning to the Russell T Davies era. Times have changed, and change is good. I think that's the most beautiful message Doctor Who achieves as a show. Change is good. Change is natural. We are all different people throughout all of our lives, as Matt Smith said when he was regenerating, but something I kind of already believed. And when you think about it, David Tennant's regeneration is one of the only ones that feels like it runs contrary to that belief. This is more baseless speculation, but I can very much picture Russell T Davies in the interim years of him not being showrunner, looking back on that final storyline and thinking, what could I have done better, and how could I have done the show more justice. Also, I'm not saying it was bad or that it needed to be rewritten, but I think he would jump at the opportunity to do this. I think that if this was the case, David Tennant's episode would be focused around however Donna fits into it, revisiting her and her family, and if Rose is her daughter, seeing how times have changed and how change is beautiful, and how Donna found happiness without him could really go a long way to heal some of the long festering wounds he's had in his life. I also think that would do Donna's character some good, by the way, to kind of show that she can thrive without needing to rely on the Doctor herself. Obviously there will be some sort of existential threat the Doctor will be facing. Currently have no idea on what that could possibly be, by the way. Just maybe hold off on the Daleks for a while, please. And for the love of God, Russell, leave the Slitheen alone. I can see you rewatching your original series. I can see you looking for old monsters to bring back. Don't you dare bring the Slitheen back, for the love of God. Let them stay on Raxacoricophalopatorius where they belong. No, I didn't have to look up the pronunciation. I'm that much of a Doctor Who nerd. Another bug just flew into my mouth. What is happening today? Anyway, I think that in facing this existential threat, the Doctor ends up sacrificing himself to save the planet, or just Rose maybe, not sure. And I think he does so willingly, and without a lot of the dramatic self-aggrandizing grief that he did at the end of time. I think it's going to be a direct parallel between the two sacrifices, and it's going to show his growth throughout the episode, and I think that's when he regenerates into Ncuti Gatwa. And I think Ncuti Gatwa remains the 14th Doctor in that instance. I don't think that changes anything there. I really do believe that, as well as being a 60th anniversary special celebrating the 10th Doctor, I also think it's going to be an analysis of his personal flaws, and a real let's stop and deal with this before moving on moment. As for why Jodie would subconsciously choose to do this, I do think it would tie in well to the end of her storyline about her identity and about her own issues, especially regarding her suppressing her love for Yaz because she's worried it's going to lead to pain. I feel like that's very David Tennant, and I feel like that has its roots in his relationship with Rose in season 2. And I feel like it would just be so beautiful to return to that, you know? I also think that if Russell T Davies were to do this, I think the episode would be criticised by some of the more hardcore fans for being a rewrite of David Tennant's Doctor if done wrong. So, you know, while I can say what I want it to be, I can also say it's probably not what everyone else would want it to be. Now, I am about to mention something that I've seen filmed from far away, so it could be a minor spoiler, just so you know. But I'm going to omit some details to make it as minor as possible, I promise you. But I'm using this as a counter-argument to my own theory. I just want to be as honest as possible. I can see this sinking my theory a bit. As viewed from afar, it would appear that the Doctor is wearing his traditional brown overcoat.
Just going to slide in here and say it might be blue. Not sure. I can't actually remember. I'm now doubting myself. Doesn't matter to this theory. Continue, Christian.
So basically the suit he's worn before in his own series
and why I think that's a counter-argument to what I think is going to happen as soon as these cars go by, is you can't bring David Tennant back later on in his life as the Doctor and not give him a wardrobe change, right? Having him slip back into his old outfit for the purpose of one single episode about him changing feels like, I don't know, it feels antithetical to the point you'd be trying to make, and trust me, people think very hard about stuff like wardrobe for these things. Like, maybe you could have him slipping into his old outfit as he's trying to regain a semblance of who he used to be, but I would be far more tempted to put him in something different, to have him wearing, I don't know, Jodie's costume as rags or something, you know? It's a very minor thing, but it's the kind of thing that throws off my gut sense. The kind of thing that I see and it makes me think twice about my theory. And I just wanted to put it in this video because obviously my theory is very detailed for something we know nothing about and is very much veering into the realms of fan fiction. Still, I just want to get the point across. If I was Russell T Davies, and many people listening to this might be thanking fuck that I'm not, that is how I would write this episode. Donna's memory thing is another fly in the ointment. I don't know how you could promise that David Tennant and Catherine Tate would both be returning if you're not going to have an episode where they're together as Doctor and Companion. Maybe they have, but I'm not so sure about that. So just some other theories I'm throwing out there which aren't as detailed and are probably theories everyone else also has. And I'm not saying mine's a super original theory either, by the way. Again, mine is built off of the rumours that David Tennant was going to be the 14th Doctor. But I can very much see this David Tennant as being from the parallel universe where he went to with Rose, purely because multiverses are so in right now. I can also just see this being a missing story from when the Doctor and Donna were originally together. I wouldn't say no to that, but I would also counterpoint that that sounds slightly too simple for a 60th anniversary special, you know? Especially if it's probably going to include Ncuti Gatwa as the 14th Doctor. I don't know if we've had that confirmed or not, actually. That's something I should look into. But yeah, not to make this too rambly, but that's pretty much my take on the whole 60th anniversary episode. I'm going to miss Jodie Whittaker when she goes, by the way. I want to throw that in. Say what you want about the plot. Jodie Whittaker's a fantastic Doctor, and I'm going to be so sad when she goes. I suppose you could also say that my theory is born of my concerns that there are way too many things to wrap up in Jodie Whittaker's final episode, and therefore we're saving the emotional baggage that she's got, if, for want of a better term, until David Tennant's episode, but who knows, they're probably unrelated. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Am I huffing copium, as they like to say in MMO discourse? Am I completely off the rails? Do you think my idea is completely unlikely but you like the idea? Do you think my idea is likely and you hate it? Let me know, but be kind, please. As I'm saying this, I'm realising people on the internet can be mean. Why am I encouraging this? If you liked this video, ooh, here we go, I'm finally caving and saying it. If you like this video, maybe leave a like and possibly subscribe. My channel has a wide range of content in it, mostly not to do with Doctor Who, but I am planning to do an entire Doctor Who rewatch thoughts per episode series at some point in the future. So if you want to know how I can possibly enjoy the Jodie Whittaker episodes, then hit subscribe and find out in 5 months when I finally get around to those episodes or something. I don't know. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.